Let's transition to the NBA and let's talk about the Phoenix Suns as the Phoenix Suns beat the Dallas Mavericks 130 to 126 yesterday afternoon in Dallas for the Suns. Kevin Durant was sensational. He had 37 points, shot 12 of 17 from the floor. Very, very efficient afternoon for KD. Devin Booker had 36 points, 10 assists. For the Mavericks, Luka Doncic had 34 points. Kyrie Irving had 30 points. Luka had 34, but he needed 36 so he could send this game to overtime. Missed the easy layup at the rim that would have tied the game. So as I watched this game Sunday afternoon, it was in prime time. It was the 1 o'clock game on ABC. I love watching this game because this game had stars everywhere. Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Luka Doncic, and Kyrie Irving all combined to score 137 points. And I felt like it was great shot making in this particular game. And I felt like both teams competed at a high level. You could tell we starting to get late into the NBA season, and the Phoenix Suns and the Dallas Mavericks, along with other teams, they are starting to bring more intensity even in regular season games. And so I thought we saw that yesterday in the matchup between the Mavericks and the Suns. I love to see it because we know both of these two teams offensively, they can light it up. You look at the Phoenix Suns. Let's start off with them. Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, that dynamic duo as a scoring duo could be the best scoring duo in the NBA. I think I saw a stat where they have the fourth most points by a duo in NBA history in their first 3 games played together. That's Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. So we know how prolific offensively they can be. But my biggest issue with the Phoenix Suns is, in order for the Phoenix Suns to be a contender in the Western Conference and a contender for a team who can win the NBA championship, they're going to need more from Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton. In this game, Chris Paul, he had 11 points, 7 assists, shot 4 of 9 from the field, 2 of 6 from three-point range. DeAndre Ayton had 9 points, 4 of 6 shooting from the floor, 16 rebounds. We know that Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, they can go off for 100. Combined, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker can both go off for 100 in a playoff series, in a particular playoff game. They can go off for at least 70 combined, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. But what the Suns need, they need their others to contribute, specifically Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton. I know Chris Paul is getting up in age. He's 38 years old. He'll be 38 in May. And we know that he is a veteran point guard at this point in his career, but you need some production from Chris Paul. Chris Paul only scoring 9 points for 11 points. He had 11 points. Him only scoring 11 points is not going to be enough to beat these other teams in the Western Conference once the playoffs start. You need Chris Paul to at least score 15 to 20 points for the Phoenix Suns to be at their best. DeAndre Ayton, you need him active and you need him to be aggressive offensively when he gets the ball in the low post. You got to have DeAndre Ayton engaged, and you need him to understand if he plays great defense, if he protects the rim for the Phoenix Suns, Chris Paul will get him the basketball on the offensive side of the floor. You know, that's what big men love. Like Anthony Davis, the Joker, Karl Anthony Towns, some of these great big men that we have in our game, they love to know that defensively, if they play well on the defensive side of the floor and they protect the rim, they want to know that on the other end of the floor, offensively, they're going to get their opportunities to score points. And I think that Monty Williams, the head coach of the Phoenix Suns, he has to keep DeAndre Ayton engaged, because I believe that's how you get the best out of DeAndre Ayton. feed him the ball in the low post, because Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, they can get their points whenever, wherever, however. So you have to feed DeAndre Ayton the basketball, give him his fair share of opportunities to be a scorer in the low post. You don't need him to shoot 25 shot attempts or 17 shot attempts like KD or Booker, but you still want Ayton to have at least 9 or 10 shot attempts per game. Only 6 shot attempts from your center, and he's supposed to be a part of the big four, is not enough. It's not enough. And again, I think if you involve him offensively, he's going to be motivated to play that much better defense. So they got to get DeAndre Ayton the ball in the low post, let him do his work, let him do his thing, for sure. And again, Chris Paul, you need more out of CP3. You need more out of CP3. I know how great CP3 is. Chris Paul is one of the best point guards in NBA history, a tremendous floor general. But Chris Paul, offensively, he's going to need to do more for the Phoenix Suns to be contenders in the Western Conference. It can't just be all Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. You need Chris Paul to have one of those nights where he can put up 20 points. Because, again, you know Booker and KD combined is going to give you 70 easily. 70 easily for KD and Booker. I know I said 100 earlier. That's on a great night. That's on a great night. Because one of them go out for 40. One of them go out for 40 or 50. You never know. So you got to have more from Chris Paul. Got to have more from DeAndre Ayton. Now, when you switch gears to the Dallas Mavericks, when the Dallas Mavericks traded for Kyrie Irving, one of the things that I said, offensively, they were not going to have any issues whatsoever because Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic offensively are unstoppable. And I believe that they are two of the more gifted scorers that we have in the NBA. And they're not going to have any troubles offensively. But defensively, they were going to struggle. In this game, the Suns shot over 60% in the fourth quarter of this basketball game. So them losing Dorian Finney-Smith, it really, really hurt the Dallas Mavericks. Before they traded for Kyrie Irving, defensively, they already were a bad defensive basketball team. Now with Kyrie Irving, they're an even worse defensive basketball team. And that's the reason why I don't believe the Mavericks are championship contenders. Do I believe the Mavericks can scare some teams who are at the top of the Western Conference standings, like the Nuggets, like the Suns, like the Warriors in a 7-game series? Yes, I believe they'll scare you. But do I believe that they can ultimately pull off an upset in a playoff series? I believe that is an emphatic no, because defensively, they do not get enough stops. They don't give enough stops. Last year, when they went on their surprising run in the NBA playoffs and they were able to upset the Phoenix Suns in yet last year's playoffs and they got to the Western Conference Finals, everyone wants to give credit to the offense led by Luka Doncic and Jalen Brunson, but defensively, they were a top 10 defensive team last year. The Dallas Mavericks were a top 10 defensive team last year in the playoffs, and that's why they got to the Western Conference Finals. This year, I don't see it happening because defensively, they can't get stops at important, pivotal moments of games. And if you want to be a championship contender, at some point, you have to be able to get stops. 60% is your offense, 40% is your defense. So that's the biggest issue with the Dallas Mavericks. We know they can score points. That's no issue. Last night, Luka and Kyrie both combined for 64 points. And Luka should have had 36 points, but he missed a potential game-tying layup at the rim. But the biggest issue with the Dallas Mavericks is not offensively, it's defensively. And I look at their roster. You got Powell at center, at power forward. You got Bullock. These guys are not great defensive players. Reggie Bullock, he's a great shooter on a perimeter for the Dallas Mavericks. And I like Tim Hardaway. I love Tim Hardaway on their basketball team. He had 21 points yesterday. 6 of 10 shooting from the floor, 6 of 8 from 3-point range. I think Tim Hardaway on a great night, he can light it up for sure. But Christian Wood, they don't have no one defensively who can create havoc and guard the opposing team's best player. They don't have it. And that's the reason why you saw Kevin Durant and Devin Booker have their way yesterday. Yesterday combined, KD and Devin Booker had 73 points. They had 73 points yesterday. So that's the biggest issue with the Dallas Mavericks. I think the Dallas Mavericks are a playoff team in the West. And again, if they go up, depending on who their matchup is in the first round, I think they can scare some opposing teams. But do I believe they are a championship contender? I do not.